The first Floridians will return home on Monday to survey the damage wreaked by Hurricane Irma. The powerful hurricane made landfall Sunday morning in the Florida Keys as a Category 4 storm and then made its way up the Gulf Coast, knocking out power to some 5.8 million Floridians, swamping downtown Miami with storm surge and blowing the roofs off homes. More than 200,000 people waited in shelters statewide as Irma headed up the coast. Up to 10,000 people are believed to have stayed in their Florida Keys homes during the storm and now have no water, food, or power, officials have warned. As of Monday morning, the storm was still pummeling northern Florida, centered west of the city of Ocala, but had been downgraded to a tropical storm. The National Hurricane Center predicts the storm will cross Monday into southwest Georgia, where a hurricane warning was in effect for a large rural area including the cities of Albany and Valdosta. With rough conditions persisting across Florida, many communities in Irma's wake feared what destruction would be revealed when daylight came. The death toll jumped to 5 today, with reports of a person found dead in a home in the Florida Keys. But this morning, Florida Director of Emergency Management Bryan Koon said he could not confirm or deny reports of multiple deaths or extensive damage, admitting, "I don't have any numbers on fatalities at this point." While Irma has been downgraded to a tropical storm over Florida, it still has winds near hurricane force. Storm surge flooding in downtown Jacksonville exceeded a record set during a 1965 hurricane by at least 1 foot, according to the National Weather Service. A river gauge downtown in the Atlantic Coast city measured 3 feet above flood stage. Move to higher ground now, the Weather Service warned people near the St. Johns River.To. The south winds knocked the utility pole and power lines onto a sheriff's cruiser late Sunday in Polk County, illustrating the dangerous conditions for emergency personnel. A deputy and a paramedic, who had just escorted an elderly patient to safety, were trapped for 2 hours until a crew could free them. Both were unhurt.And. More than 120 homes were being evacuated early Monday in Orange County, just outside the city of Orlando, as floodwaters started to pour in. Firefighters and the National Guard were going door to door and using boats to ferry families to safety. A few miles away, 30 others had to be evacuated when a 60-foot sinkhole opened up under an apartment building. No injuries were reported in either case. In Redington Shores west of Tampa, attorney Carl Roberts spent a sleepless night writing at Irma in his 17th-floor beachfront condo. After losing power late Sunday, he made it through the worst of the storm, shaken but unhurt. The hurricane winds lashed the shutters violently throughout the night, he wrote in a text message, making sleep impossible. As morning broke, He couldn't open the electric shutters to see outside. It's so dark in here, he said. Nearly 5.8 million homes and businesses across Florida lost power, and utility officials said it will take weeks to restore electricity to everyone. More than 100,000 were in the dark in Georgia. Irma's center was about 105 miles north of Tampa when forecasters announced it had weakened to a tropical storm. However, they warned its maximum sustained winds were 70 miles per hour, and the storm was still producing higher gusts. The monster storm, which arrived in Florida as a Category 4 hurricane, has toppled at least 3 construction cranes, 2 over downtown Miami and 1 in Fort Lauderdale. People in the heavily populated Tampa-St. Petersburg area had feared a first direct hit from a major hurricane since 1921, but the storm weakened to a Category 2 as it approached that area. Tampa Mayor Bob Buckhorn said the situation was not as bad as it could have been, but warned residents that dangerous storm surge continued. He also described downed power lines and other debris. Speaking Monday morning on MSNBC's Morning Joe, Buckhorn said what we thought was going to be a punch in the face was a glancing blow. Buckhorn did say there are a lot of downed power lines and debris. He said Tampa's officials have vehicles positioned to be sure that when that surge comes in we can keep people out of the streets. He said he expected power to be out for some sections of Tampa for at least a couple more days.